Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have kids, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome, glad to have you here. Oh look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee?
I don't drink coffee.
You sure? It's cultist coffee.
What makes it cultist coffee?
I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it.
Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, and welcome to the office. Welcome to the morning grind. I hope everybody is doing well this morning. I'm here. I'm here after another late night because I went to see Oppenheimer last night. I decided yesterday afternoon I'm going to go and I'm going to watch one of the movies because there seem to be so many movies that are coming out that right now it's unusual. I used to go see a lot more movies, but ever since like COVID and everything like that, I used to live closer to a movie theater anyway. But Barbie, Oppenheimer, I'd still like seeing Mission Impossible, and I may or may not get to do it. And it seems like I do need to watch Barbie again after our discussion. It looks like I need to clean the lens of my camera. Just 1 second. Let me look for something to do that with. Maybe this will help us. There. Yes. Ordinarily, I do that before the show starts. But okay. So I decided to go see Oppenheimer last night, and I'm glad that I did. I live a while from the movie theater, and then that's a long movie. It's a long movie. It's a 3-hour movie. But I'm glad that I went to see it. I've got to digest it. So I got back late last night. I've got to digest it. I got to think about it. I saw actually when I got in last night that Cameron had posted a link on his Patreon saying that he and R were discussing it on the Positive Fandom channel. So I'm going to have to see what R and Cameron had to say. So they did some kind of review yesterday. Look on the Positive Fandom channel. So I'm going to think about it. I enjoyed it. So if you're wondering, the bottom line is that I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Oppenheimer. I'm gonna have to think about it and see how we review it. RM said she wanted to talk about it with me, or be willing to talk about it with me if I went to see it. And Cameron said that we should try to organize another panel on Oppenheimer. So, all right, I have watched it, so I can participate in that, but I got to think about it for a review. Let's see what's going on over here, who's here, and in the comments and stuff like that. We're going to be talking about AI art today. There's been a lot going on in the world of AI art, it seems, in our Geekverse and in our creative sphere. So we're going to talk about that. Hey, Mike. Good morning, Mike. Oh, Sable Phoenix says we should talk about the new rules preview of Daggerheart, too. I did not know that was out. If anybody has a link to that, please put that in the news for the grind section. We should probably talk about the Daggerheart rules if there is new information about it. I have not seen that. If it came out yesterday, I just wasn't online as I was out at the movie theater. Good morning, Brett. Good morning. Oh, okay. It's in the other RPG channel. Okay. It's very interesting. Okay. So, all right. So it is there. So if you're looking for the Discord server link, or you're looking for information on that, it's in the Ravenkeep Discord server. I guess I can post a link to the Discord server. We'll do that right here. Ravenkeep Discord. 2D12 system with a partial deck building and some narrative heavy elements like powered by the Pocketips, the or FITD. That's or yeah, that's that's what's like powered by the Apocalypse. We'll see. Well, yeah, we'll see what they say. Okay, we'll check that out. We'll check that out. We'll see how their use of the bell curve goes. I'm interested to know. Good morning, Robert. Good morning. Oh, persistent. Robert's update on the use of AI to create a text-based adventure game. Persistent coordinates persisting, persistent exits per unique coordinates imminent. Lady of Pain says humans are confused by AI. Basically, it's not intelligent yet. When AI becomes intelligent, humanity will be vanquished. Earth does not have actual AI. We have diffusion models and large language models. And, you know, I've started in the context of, we haven't talked about AI in a while, but we started in the context of our language models. You know, it's AI kind of in common parlance, but if I'm specifically talking about a large language model, I start to say something about a large language model. So with our art generators, you know, they're diffusion models. I don't know if today's the day for it, but I want to talk more about that, and especially the use of large language models and where I think we are with that. Because I took quite a deep dive into that technology. Well, and you know, see what was available, you know, what it could do, keeping track of a lot of papers and things like that were coming out about AI as it was being pushed, you know, the large language models as they were being pushed. And I've been following a lot of what the diffusion models can do as well, particularly through YouTube. And that's come a huge way And basically, I remember, so basically I was trying to do something with diffusion models a year ago. Couldn't do it. I mean, it was cool stuff. It's cool stuff, but wasn't actually helping me at all. But all right. Because I mean, this is a controversial subject as well. And actually, I became aware of this. Oh, let's breathe and sip, and then we will get into this. Everybody got your drink here? Let's take 2 deep breaths, deep inhales, complete exhales, and then take a sip of your favorite beverage. Just clear your mind, breathe and sip. Here we go. And sip. All right. So let me bring up, we got like several news articles and things like that to take a look at. Because I was planning on talking about AI today anyway. If Sunday, was originally kind of our potpourri day, and we can talk about different news stories that might not take an entire show, so we could look at a bunch of them. But so right here, I was already going to take a look at AI today because I noticed that we had drive-through RPG change of policy, and I need to look at that. And we had Kickstarter change of policy. Micah had put that in the news for the grind. So we've got those. And then all of a sudden I saw that there was some type of something going on with Wizards of the Coast and Wizards of the Coast's policy or something like that too. I actually first became aware of the Wizards of the Coast thing because Lou, who's been on the channel before, Lou had posted, and he is anti-AI art. But we're going to talk about the different nuances in this. But I first saw, because he had posted to his Substack. So if you're interested in following Lou Anders on Substack, he's the author of the Thrones and Bones trilogy. He does a lot of the things that a lot of us want to do, because he's got the traditionally published novels. He was, and then he's been creating his own RPG line and gotten them published, self-published through Kickstarter. So he's got his own. He's got tons of art. He's got, has been commissioned for it. He used to be a art director, and so he knows a lot of the major fantasy artists, and so he's been able to commission and art direct a lot of the major fantasy art fantasy illustrators to work in his world. And he used to do journalism on like Star Trek and Babylon 5 and so forth out there in LA years ago as well. So he wrote, so when I saw Lou post this, I was like, this is the first thing I read on it. And then I noticed that Linda Codega also has posted in Gizmodo about this. So has anybody read about this, or, in Gizmodo as well, or either one of these? So Lou was saying that, okay, we have this new scandal here. I've already radically reduced my own consumer spending on Wizards products since the OGL controversy, when they targeted the third-party publishing community, and the Pinkerton incident when they dispatched the bad guys from Red Dead Redemption 2 to threaten and intimidate fans who were sent Magic the Gathering cards ahead of their release. And that's why, after the above incident, that my next offering, Banner of the Bull, and next year's Crisis and Castlebriar are being offered for Kobold Press's 5e derived rule system, the Tales of the Valiant, instead of the official 5e systems. So Lou writes for Kobold Press frequently. So Lou is on board with what's going on with Kobold Press. So what happened? So 2 things. So it says, first, they employed an artist named Ilya Shkipin, who uses AI art to finalize their artwork. The artist draws a sketch and then has the AI render it for the final, which is really cool. And that something's only come around in the last few months. And I mean, that's been several months ago, but that's one of those things that, oh yeah, that kind of thing didn't exist several months ago. But being able to draw a sketch out, which I think is going to be fantastic, because if you need to storyboard something, because yeah, getting if you're looking for certain poses and things like that, you can sketch it and then have the AI render the final. I don't, see, Lou says, I don't believe there's any ethical use of this technology right now. And not when it scrapes other artists' work without permission, and when its ultimate purpose is to replace human agency in the creative arts. I have a difference of opinion on with Lou on this, because if that's the concern, not when it scrapes other, but there are certainly diffusion models that don't do that. I mean, if that's your concern, let's say that is your hang up, that I have a lot of thoughts on this as it relates to LLMs too, the large language models. But if that's your concern, that an artist's work has been used to train an AI without their permission, well, there are other diffusion models that are just trained on that are trained only on public domain works, and works that artists have given permission for, and also works that somebody specifically owns, has been and given permission for. So okay, so if that is your hang up, it's not like there aren't diffusion models out there that you can't use. I mean, you can still make AI art. I mean, if that's your hang up. And I also strongly disagree with this. Its ultimate purpose is to replace human agency in the creative arts. I don't think that's it. I mean, it might be for somebody. I mean, it might be for somebody that somebody could go, hey, you know what? I could use all of this new technology to completely replace humanity in the creative arts. Okay, first of all, I do wonder how interested in art overall we're going to be if there isn't human agency in it. Because, I mean, we know that we can now generate. Now, some of the images are beautiful, and you're like scrolling through, oh, that's cool. But now we can generate a tremendous amount of, what we're talking about. In this case, we're talking about art. We're talking about two-dimensional images, although we're about to be talking about video too. I've been very closely monitoring what's been going on in video generation. And it's getting close. I mean, it's just one of those things that every week, it seems like, I mean, it's probably every day if you're really following it, but like every week, I see new stuff coming out about AI video generation, and it's like taking another huge step, like every week. So that's coming right along too. But it's only replacing human agency in the creative arts if you let it, right? You can also use it to empower yourself, which is how I plan to use it. I could, if you use it to empower yourself, and therefore to create things that you never would have been able to create if you didn't have these tools, I'm still very much agentive in the creation of, let's say, the Tales of Rabavania, in Theophany, in the Black Cipher, any of those things that I'm trying to create, I'm still very much agentive in them. And I'm being empowered, I'm being enabled by new tools to be able to do more and bring things into existence that I want to see in existence than I've ever been able to bring in before. And I've been, I haven't really started those projects in earnest yet, because I've been following exactly what's going on, because I know how I want things to look and how I want to be able to do them. And it seems like they're very close, especially on the video side. I need imagery and I need video. But then, so let me go to how do you feel about that? So yeah, I mean, when he says, I don't, there's any ethical use of this technology right now, but if that's your hang up, then just use a diffusion model that skips that. I'm not sure about that. I'm not convinced that having AIs look at what is on the internet to train itself. I mean, humans do that. Humans do that to train our brains. If I'm working on art, you can which I'm more on the writing side of things, obviously, but I'll look at other art in order to train myself and figure out what's going on. And the artist didn't give me permission. Like, oh, I posted this and you can look at it. Oh, but if you're actually going to look at it to try to create your own art, oh, well, then I didn't give you permission for that. You put it out there and some people are going to look at it and enjoy it. Some, just for the sake of looking at it and enjoying it. Some people are going to look at it and go, oh, I see an interesting technique here. Or look at how this person, drew the face, or look at how this person's using lighting. I bet that I can do something similar. You can't, you're not going to be able, you can't stop somebody from using that in that particular way once you posted to the internet. Let me see what's going on in the comments here. Jappert says, I've seen more and more anti-AI art people who want human work for the sake of human work. No thanks. I agree with the overall sentiment of the AI art crowd. If you can afford it, pay for art for an artist. But I think it goes a touch too far at times. I'm not an artist, and I likely cannot pay for it. So if I need art for a concept, I don't really see an issue in querying an AI. See, here's what I wonder. How much more art do we need? Do we need a lot more art in the world? Because here's the thing. I think we're going to get to the point where this art that we're in the story here, where this artist was doing the sketches and then allowing the AI to, take the sketch and then produce the what's going to be used as the final work of art. Well, okay, how long would it traditionally have taken you, traditionally being, last year, or 6 months ago, whatever, to have gone from your idea, your concept, through your sketch and through your iterations and so forth to your final work of art? And that means how many works of art can you produce in a day, a week, a month? Okay, well, if you can just do the concept yourself and do all the sketches and concepting of what it is that you are trying to get drawn, can you double your output? Can you triple your output? Can you quadruple your output? And does the world need quadruple or quintupled amount of art production? I'm somebody who says, yes, absolutely we can. And I'll give you an example of that. One of the reasons that, or one of the major issues with the Journey to the Tree of Sorrows YouTube channel, of course, that's where I was writing history and lore and also stories for the Journey to the Tree of Sorrows world, which is a dark Lovecraftian world. And David and I were trying to develop that. And so I was writing all the history and lore, and then we would go and have the scripts that I would write professionally read. And I wrote a bunch of those. And then Ian Gordon, who is fantastic, even read them for us, and we had the files ready. But the big hang up is that David was the artist, and he just could not produce the art fast enough. So we were just going to have one piece of art. It was just a static background. And we have posted, I don't know if that was like 24 videos or something like that. It's over there on that channel. And where we have a static background, we just have one image, and then so David wrote that. And then I edited the video together. But that's David's piece of art. It's my script, and then it's Ian Gordon reading them. And that's basically all it is. But YouTube is a visual medium. And I was like, you know what? But the reason we didn't put out more videos than that, we couldn't even put out one a week, is because it was so difficult for David to do the art. The by far the slowdown on that was doing the art. And I was saying that, hey, it's true that YouTube being a more visual medium, I would like to be able to not just have one image per piece of lore that's written out, but I really like to be able to change images so that people can actually watch something as well, since it is YouTube. We're not just uploading it to, I don't know, Spotify or something like that, which is only or at least predominantly an audio platform, and it doesn't have a visual association. But YouTube has the visual association. I think a lot of people are expecting the visuals, and I would like to be able to change images every, let's say, 12 or 15 seconds. So our situation was that, like, let's say we have an 8-minute video, and an 8-minute video, that's 480 seconds, just as an example. Okay, well, it was impossible for us to even get one piece of art. Like, we couldn't do one piece of art a week. Like, if we wanted to produce one a week, we couldn't even produce one piece of art a week. So that's why it didn't go anywhere. But at minimum, at best, we were able to produce one piece of art. David was able to produce one piece of art for it. And that one piece of art would be on screen for 148 seconds. Well, can I quadruple my amount of, like, how much art? Let's say that I wanted the image to change every 15 seconds. In that case, 80 times 60, and then divide all that by 15, that's 32. So I'm actually somebody who needs 32 times the amount of art. That would be amazing. So if, if you had the artist like, well, we need 32 different pieces of art for this, using, let's say, traditional methods, I can't even produce one piece of art a week. So if you're trying to put out one, or maybe even two, but let's say one YouTube video a week about the lore of this world, then I'm only be able to produce one piece of art a month. So we're only be at least one video a month, and it got beyond that. So one piece every 2 months or 3 months or something like that. Just cannot do it. Well, we need to dramatically accelerate that to be able to produce 32 pieces of art every week, and then ready for editing. Well, if you're sitting there sketching things up, and then you're giving them to the AI, and then you're able to produce like an animated, and I want to get into the animation, which is why you need the video side of this, but some kind of animated images that go along with the script and the narration and things like that. Hey, artists, let's go 32 times on the amount of art that we can create. Create 32 times the amount of art. I mean, that's fantastic. So I think we potentially do need more art in the world. Lady of Pain says, an audio engineer making any song has a machine render the recording. Mute point? Or is that moot point? Jappert says, where do they want to draw the line? Photoshop and filters? That their line is a slippery slope. But see, and the other point is that AI is integrated into the image generation. The diffusion models are being integrated into, I mean, this was like last month. I mentioned this before. Is that last month this happened, or like 2 months ago? Anyway, there used to be back in the old days, there was a separation between an artist's creative suite and like the Adobe Creative Suite and a diffusion model. But now, Adobe has created its own diffusion model and has integrated that into Photoshop. And I guess maybe it's in Illustrator. I have not used that yet. But, integrated that technology in. So it's not clear, oh, you can't go over there. But the technology to do this is just integrated into an artist's workflow. And it seems like the artists who embrace that, that was one thing. Oh, wait a minute. Now, don't go over there and generate it. Oh, you mean this image generation is right here and integrated with Photoshop? Well, this will 10 times, make my workflow 10 times faster. Well, maybe I'll just use a little bit of this. Especially, I think we talked about this when we were looking at Alchemy. Oh, it was the Alchemy digital RPG, and they were saying that you cannot use like AI generated art and put it up on Alchemy. But even if you hire even if you hire an artist, how do you know that the artist didn't use, even if you hire an artist and they use Photoshop, how are you supposed to ensure that that artist is not using the particular tool inside Photoshop that is the AI generation of the art? I mean, without like screen recording them, like, and because sometimes like on some of these systems, like Upwork or whatever, like you can say, if you're working for me, I want you to submit a screen capture of what's going on. So you could require a screen capture. Like, you need to video your process to make sure that you didn't, hit the forbidden button, because I've got to be able to use this, for this particular, platform, whatever it is. In that case, we were talking about Alchemy, but whatever it is that doesn't allow AI art. So just because you hire an artist doesn't mean that they aren't using AI art. And if that's your concern, like the concern is right here with Lou, which seems to be with a lot of people, that they say that that it was derived. The issue is this derived in an unethical way, which you may disagree with, and you may certainly disagree that no, I didn't hit the one that used this training set. I did hit the button on the one that used this training set, and I'm perfectly okay with this training set the way that it was created. So, however, you want to say that this artist was knowingly, infuriatingly, insanely. Why is that infuriatingly and insanely doing it to themselves? Well, it doesn't end there. Why? Why not? If you like I said, in the issue of the sketching, like if I were the artist side of this, and I was like, I've got these videos, I was trying to do. Like to me, I could sketch them and then get the pieces made. And it's what I'm trying to get out. I'm being able to get it out faster, and I need 3,000 images. I wouldn't be infuriated that I was using a diffusion model in order to get that done. I would feel empowered by that I'm finally able to do this. I would never be able, you just plan out how much time it takes you in your life. You'd be like, I would never be able to complete this project if I'm trying to do like 300 videos at, 8 to 12 minutes. And I need, at minimum one image every 15 seconds, but I really love an image, to change every 6 or 8 seconds. And I just cannot get this project done in my entire life. And what I want to bring out cannot be done because there's just the time limit on it. But now all of a sudden technology has empowered me. And now that I can get this out. So that's where we're going. So, for example, Adobe's version, their version uses only Adobe stock. Well, auto-tune, yeah. One thing I have actually now seen, and I haven't played with them yet. Someone sent me a link on this, but AI music generation. We need more music. We need more music generation. And for some reason, it seems to me, I don't know why, and I'm not familiar with the development of the technology enough to know why, but it seems like the music side of things is going a bit slower than I might expect. But it's coming along. It's coming along. James says, I think the word scrape is intentionally being used to cast a certain light. Yes. So scrape has a certain thing. Reference is what human artist does. Reference is what the AI does. It's the same process. And we know what data set. I mean, we can actually look at the data set that DALL-E used, right? And I've done that before. I think we may have done this on the grind at one point. But we can actually go in. So if you're wondering, now, wait a minute, what is the data set that DALL-E was trained on? Well, we know. If you want to look at that data set and you can see whether or not you think it did something wrong, you can take a look at that data set. Because it wasn't generated by DALL-E, right? Wait a minute. Let's just look that up. DALL-E training data set. Training mitigations. That's that might be interesting, but it's not. Outpainting, inpaint variations. Curbing misuse. It's training data. It is an index of the of web images that was created by somebody else for research purposes. Was it a German lab or was it just European in general? I forget. I should have had the link for this, but I didn't think about it until because we have looked at it on the grind before. But it's just a research training base about here's a link to an image and here's what's in it, and here's a link to an image and here's what's in it, like a description of what's in it. So it's basically. It looked like basically a big 2-column, because it's kind of like a flat file, spreadsheet. It looked like a 2-column spreadsheet with a link and then a description of what was in it. Like here's an orange. This is a picture of an orange. This is a picture of a cat. And so here's the link and then here's the description, and then that's what was used. You can find that and you can take a look at that yourself because it's there. So they also took concept art submitted by an illustrator named April Prime, and without their knowledge or input, put that through AI. The results of which are published in the book without April Prime's credit. Okay, now see, I would have a problem with that. Who is they here? Also took concept art submitted by an illustrator named April Prime, and without their knowledge or input, put that without their. I suppose there is supposed to reference April Prime. So without April Prime's knowledge or input, put that through an AI, the results of which are published in the book without April Prime's credit. Well, it depends. So the legal status of that depends on the status of the concept art. Like, is it work for hire or whatever? Because that could be like, there could be no problem with putting the concept art through an AI and manipulating and changing it in any way that they want if they own it. So that's no problem. But I would say that I would say this part is the issue. That now in that case, that artist needs credit for the concept work. If you are on BlueSky, I don't know what that Blue Sky, Blue Sky. You can see April Prime's post here. Okay, I can't. I don't know what that is. They are saying they feel genuinely betrayed by having their art turned into slop. So, I mean, I would feel bad about that too, especially if I did not receive credit. I mean, if you do the concept art on work for hire, you know that other things can happen to your work on the other side. But credit is very important. I'm big on that. So the credit that this person should be credited for their work. I agree with that. Let me scroll down over here on the comments a bit. Hey, Cal. Good to see you. Good morning, TSL Frontman. Scenes by Omnic says, I'm not surprised Nerd Immersion covered this, but that he was against even Adobe Humane AI. Oh, I didn't see that. James says, I agree with you, Heath. This broadens access to the creative endeavor. It's like when the printing press was invented, which I've mentioned before. Yeah, and people aren't... yes, and people are not going to overall reject it. People are overall not going to reject it because people are going to have things that they want to create. And when you have these tools that enable them to create the kinds of things that they want to create, they're going to do it. Even if you tell them not to. Like, I mean, we could, you think about this. Like, I think with the idea, first of all, with it being integrated with something like a diffusion model being integrated with Adobe Photoshop. And you've got professors of art who are teaching, art classes at universities or whatever, and they're using Photoshop, and they're trying to tell the incoming 18, 19-year-olds who are interested in art, who have probably now already been using diffusion models and everything in their own artistic endeavors. And the professor is trying to tell them, now don't hit that button over there in Photoshop. That's the unethical, evil button. Don't hit that button. Yes, it might speed up your workflow by 10 times or 100 times and allow you to create things faster that you really want. But that's immoral. It's unethical. Do you know what button they're going to hit right away? I mean, imagine telling, a bunch of teenagers who all want to be artists that, whoa, don't go to that website and use that tool. Don't click that button inside Photoshop. I mean, it's going to be real tempting because it's right there. But boy, that would be really immoral. Having, 50 and 60-year-old art professors lecture you on that when you're 16 to 22, you're just going to use that tool. Like, I don't see how that can stick at all. So yes, some people may fight that, but okay, the next generation, this is just the tools that they use for creative expression. I mean, I don't see how that's going any other way, especially when it makes the tools, the creative endeavors so cheap. So everybody uses the term gatekeeping, but I think it applies here that if you want to try to gatekeep somebody making something that, yes, this is a follow the money kind of thing too. If you have a lot of money, if you have a lot of money and you spent a lot of money on a lot of art to create something really cool, and then 6 months later, technology happens to change so that somebody else can do the same thing that you did, but a hell of a lot cheaper, then yes, I can understand why you would be like, oh my God, if you're just doing the follow the money thing, it would be a resistance to that. Oh my God, if you want to make whatever it is, like let's say that it's an animated short film, okay, and it's going to be hella expensive, but you have the money. Because I would also like I said, in my images, to be able to animate some of the images. But that up until especially a year ago, but even 6 or 8 months ago, was just going to be impossibly complicated. And therefore expensive and time consuming. Now we're reaching a point all of a sudden, as I've been following, and I watch a lot of the YouTube videos on the video people, like, oh my God, this is coming up now, and it's reaching the point where I can make an animated short film. I don't have to just have the static images, like let's change every 15 seconds, but I would actually be able to add animation, and it's sounding like in a practical way to do it. So if somebody had spent a tremendous amount of money making their 12-minute film, the fact that I might be able to do that much less expensively, I can understand why they would be against it, because they want to say, no, wait a minute, if you want to do this, if you want to be able to create like this 12-minute short film, then you'd better have a lot of money, and so but people are not going to accept that, particularly in emerging and developing countries. I mean, like how many people get to create a movie? Very, very few, because it's hugely expensive. So the number of people who get to be Steven Spielberg is very small, or even get their shot at being Steven Spielberg. It's very small, because it's such an expensive process. In order to give you your shot, it's so expensive. If you drive the cost of giving somebody their shot and being able to create their art form, how many other potential Steven Spielbergs can we unlock? We can unlock a tremendous number of future Steven Spielbergs. That's not removing creative agency from humanity. That's democratizing and expanding creative agency in humanity. Now, people are going to create a lot of junk too. I mean, that goes along with this technology. People are going to create a lot of junk. When Kindle opened up Kindle Direct to Publishing, before there was, large language models, a whole bunch of junk got published. I mean, most every book that's published on Kindle, digitally published or just self-published in general, even just published in general. But let's talk about the wave of the Kindle, everybody direct to Kindle publishing. Let's just talk about that. Most every book that's published for direct to Kindle publishing or an online platform like that is not worth reading. You do not want to read it. Most of those books are not worth reading. So it's not like every time we have a new technology that enables people to do stuff, it also increases dramatically the amount of crap that's out there. So it's more of a curation and gating. Curation. That's the word I want to use. It's more of a curation thing to me. That most everything, we're not going to do this. Yeah, auto-tune is important. Yeah. I think in this discussion, in terms of music, how many artists do not use auto-tune? I'm gonna have to scroll through here. I got behind in comments. Hey, Neutromancer. Is the Secret War, was that there was controversy about the opening credits of it. Was that Secret War a Marvel thing? I don't think the real artists are going out of business because so many of them are adopting the technology. And you know what? At least at the moment, the people who are actually, artists can use this technology in a huge way that is better than, the non-artists. Digital art isn't that valuable anyway. Original pieces are still more valuable. And, David did, David, of course, he does digital stuff as well. But, his main, when I was working with David's, and I'm sure it's the case now, David's main artistic endeavors are the creation of physical art still. And then, of course, those get sold, so that is one of the things you can do. And of course, he scans, well, actually photographs the art, so he can use the piece digitally when he wants to, but it was created physically. And then that piece of art physically can be sold to people who value that as collectors. Punk Soup says, I've been an artist my whole life and have never made any money from it. Sadly, you cannot make a living as an artist. Well, that does sound sad. Jafford says, AI right now just isn't as good as your top tier artist. A lot of people need to improve their quality. The quality thing is also an issue. So if you want to, Punk Soup was just saying how difficult it is to make a living as an artist. And it's going to become even more difficult. I mean, this is a factor of digital civilization, that when digital stuff and technology comes for what you do, it becomes increasingly hard to make a living at it, especially if you're going to be mediocre. If you're going to be mediocre to poor, and maybe at least you could make some money off of it, it really hits the people who are mediocre or poor hard. Poor at that poor quality hard. It does. Let's see. Did I write controversy wrong? Oh, did I write it wrong in my title? I don't know. Mike says, pretty much you were looking for a story to storyboard your narrative because, as you said, YouTube is a visual tool. Under traditional methods, sounds like you needed a team of artists. I would have. Yes. Lady of Pain, Matt Colville says that art takes 10 times the time and 100 times the cost of the actual game mechanics. It stalls production with 90% delay. Absolutely. That was the other thing. So I wrote 2 books for Journey to the Tree of Sorrows. I spent a lot of time writing 2 RPG books that never got published. Not only were we not able to get books out and the videos out for Journey to the Tree of Sorrows, but I sat down and I wrote 2 books for Journey to the Tree of Sorrows role-playing game. And I edited a third. Another guy wrote the adventure. And then I edited it and got it ready to go. So I submitted a player's handbook, a player's handbook, a world book for one location of the game world, and then also an adventure, edited an adventure. Got all that done. All the words were done. It's ready to go. It's ready to go to layout. So, but you know what? You need art. And especially, David, David really wanted this to be, had a very clear vision for what type of product that he wanted to produce, being an artist himself, and also very interested in the physical creation of the art. He was going to do all of the art physically as an original. Now, I'm saying, sure, there's digital parts and the layouts and things like that as you move in, but all the main pieces of art he was creating, all of his graphite art pieces. But that was just too big a project. So yeah, the game rules and the game world and all of that, I can sit down and I can write that and had all that ready to go and all that edited and boom, there we go. So now what? Well, okay, so now we still need all these arts. And what should have been happening was that the art should have been done at least at the same time as I was writing. But for different reasons, that never happened. And so the books are done. There we go. As far as writing goes, the books are done. And then there might still be years worth of work for the artist to do. And so it just never happened. So, there was a lot of time I spent writing stuff that's just, okay, it's not something that is ever going to come out. Exactly. Which is cost prohibitive. Yeah. In both cases, for something like the visual medium, but also in terms of even an RPG book. No, exactly. No, Sable Phoenix says, I remember back when Photoshop digital paintings weren't real. No, I remember that too. I remember when people were asking artists at like a booth, now, did you really paint this or did you use Photoshop? Today, that's not even an issue because, I mean, we know, I mean, I certainly know that digital painting is an art form. You're using digital painting techniques. You can still sit there and completely create something that if you paint something in Photoshop or other, software suite, oh no, you really painted that. But we're on a completely different level now. But that was the concern. I mean, you see the exact same things come up. That was the concern. Did you really paint this or did you use Photoshop? Not something we think about anymore. Robert says, when I went to art school, we trained by copying other artists' paintings in one class. I remember doing that. I didn't go to art school, but I did like art in middle school and high school. And I certainly remember like, okay, today we're going to be copying like techniques and things like that. I remember doing that a lot. Today, this week or this unit, we're studying this particular artistic style, and we're going to do art in that style. Robert says, nobody says if I draw in a Romita Jr., Maduria style that I'm violating copyright. Yeah, you're not. Yeah, your style. Anybody else can copy your style. Good morning, Dungeon Master. Good to see you. And oh, by the way, again, a special thank you to everybody who is a channel member here. If you're enjoying everything that's going on the morning grind, but also on the channel writ large, everyone who is a member, I really, really appreciate. Okay, scrolling down a little bit. Lots of people have a lot to say here. Thank you, Stray, for the gift. Good morning, Inner Light. Good morning. Okay, so yeah, there's this topic is probably going to stretch over a couple of days. Jappard says the writer and actor strike is understandable but silly. Streaming isn't as successful as it was a decade ago. Every company is a lost leader bleeding everyone else dry. The money doesn't exist. Cameron actually has a lot to say on that. Like, we could talk about he posts a lot about that on his Patreon. We could talk about the strike in general. But also where I was going with that, with the strike, is that it's different for the writer. It seems like the writers, which I'm more on that side, have a different approach to AI than what is going on with the visual artists. And I don't really understand why we have this distinction, because the writers seem to have a different issue. So the writers, like when they go on strike, like, so what's happening with writers? First of all, I don't see writers in general on social media being anti-AI like the visual artists are. Like, oh my God. So yes, I mean, what trained the large language model? The things we've written. I mean, just like the diffusion model were trained on the things that have been, the visual images that have been posted to the internet. The large language model has been trained, or large language models in general, have been trained on the things that we have written, the high quality tokens that we have put on the internet. If you're an artist, what did you do? You put art onto the internet. If you're a writer, you put written things on the internet. Same way with code. How did the large language model figure out how to write code? Well, it's because people put code on the internet. So we've all put stuff out on the internet. We didn't know that, an AI was going to look at it when we were getting online with, dial-up America Online, starting to post things on the internet and all of that. It's not something I thought about. If I make a post to Facebook, now I'm going to post to Facebook here, or post to Reddit. I'm going to make this Reddit post here. This is a really high quality Reddit post. Oh my God, that was scanned by a large language model. I don't see writers complaining about that. That the writers seem to be like, they are complaining on the strike. Now the strike is different from the complaint. The strike is about, the use of AI in scripts, and whether or not, like, there was something about the writers wanted to prevent the studio from using it and didn't want AI to be used as source material or to be sent to them as something AI generated as used as source material to be sent to them. But they didn't want to be, the writers didn't specifically say that they did not want to be forbidden from using AI themselves. So they were looking at asymmetry in the relationship. And that's a different thing. That's a different thing. A deep discussion that we could have to get into later. But what I was saying is I don't see the general complaints online from writers saying, hey, I wrote a lot of tweets and now they got scraped. The just like the artists' pictures got scraped. My tweets got scraped. My Reddit post got scraped. My short story got scraped. All of that. And that went into training a large language model. And now, boy, when I use the large language model, something really unethical is happening here. I don't see that side. And I'm not exactly sure why. I'm not exactly sure why there's this distinction between what the writers see and then what the see is happening here, and then what the visual artists see as happening here. Because I certainly haven't felt that way. Well, yes, probably the things that I write have been used to train, is some fractional people probably also overestimate the amount of influence that any particular item has in the training of either a diffusion model or an LLM. So yes, some of the stuff that I have written all over the internet over the past 20 or more years has probably indeed contributed to the training of the large language model. Oh, well, everybody's has. So let's all use it and enjoy it and move forward instead of complaining about, well, no, wait a minute. Doesn't somebody, you got to take my Reddit posts out. You need to take that. Did you see that short story did you scan the short story? You don't have my permission. Take that out. Like, I don't see writers saying that. Is anybody else that could completely be a bias and bubble of what I'm looking at, but I see the anti stuff from the artists all the time. I don't see it from the writers. Typically AI writing isn't as shouted about. Yes. Oh, so I did misspell it. Okay, I'll change though. If I have a typo in my title, I'll change it up. After the show. Neutron Answer says, I knew AI would read everything we put on the internet. That's why I only wrote things that showed my gratitude toward our new AI overlords. Yeah. Now, see, I've got a problem with that too. And now, see, it's not like I don't have a problem with things. Like I was talking about, the credit here is very important. Sable Phoenix brings up there. Yes, I have heard that people are being scanned for use perpetually, and they don't really even understand that. And that's Nave. Sable Phoenix says the biggest thing that I think the actors have legitimate beef is having their likeness and voice captured and then used virtually with AI to make films where they aren't even present without really their consent. Now, some actors have actually consented to that. Hey, you know what? You can keep going with me even after I'm dead. Who did that? First of all, I think James Earl Jones did that for his voice so that he can continue to be Darth Vader in perpetuity. And some other artists did that. So, but I had been hearing that, like, for extras and things like that, people were doing body scans and things like that. So you get body scanned and then just that'll be it. And that's not right. See, that's not right, especially with unless you are really, understand what you were consenting to give your image over, body scan and image over to a company for use in perpetuity after being paid, whatever a day rate is to be on set and go through the scan or be on the production and go through scanning and things like that. That's not right. But on the other hand, I mean, my issue there is that only saves everything for so long. That only saves everything for so long, because it's not like we're going to be able to generate we can already probably generate entirely. Oh, I need some extras. Let's just generate a whole bunch of people through diffusion. Yeah, but you're not saving anything for too long. I mean, I agree that's wrong. But if you think, hey, finally, we've got that done. Now I'm going to have a job as an extra for years and years and years. These probably not either. Okay. All right. Let's go over here. Okay, so this is what Linda says. Let's go over here. So, new Dungeons and Dragons sourcebook features AI generated art, and then I want to go over these other policies and stuff like that. So, Linda is saying, Ilya. So, okay, so there was one issue where somebody's art got used and then was not credited. I'm also like, when I'm doing AI art, like I don't think of myself now. This is a personal thing. I don't think of myself as an artist. What I'm doing is art direction. Like I wouldn't ever credit myself as the artist if I were doing art direction to an AI diffusion model. I mean, I guess I could change my mind on that in the future as technology changes, maybe. But it seems to me like, especially now, if I'm doing the prompting or if I'm providing reference imagery and stuff like that, I'm doing the same thing I would do as an art director to something digital. But so if there was the artist over there who was not credited, then okay, that's an issue. But now what did this Ilya Shkipkin do? So he drew the art in question, has deleted his posts, but records remain as screenshots. So this is the post from the artist. There is a recent controversy on whether these illustrations I made were AI generated. AI was used in the process to generate certain details or polish and editing. To shine some light on the process, I'm attaching earlier versions of the illustrations before AI had been applied to enhance details. So in this case, this is something, so this is different than the concept sketch artist situation. This artist is specifically using this as part of the workflow. As you can see, a lot of painted elements were enhanced with AI rather than generated from the ground up. So wait, where is the? Oh, right here. So this was in Lose. So you can see like so this is terrible position. Right. So this is the part that was AI enhanced from his own sketches, and he's pointing stuff out here. Shkipkin states that a lot of painted elements were enhanced with AI rather than generated from the ground up. However, this does not change the fact that AI-generated images were put into the book, and there is apparently no disclosure on the images at all. People are also big on this disclosure stuff, but, you know, we moved past, like, needing disclosure on whether or not something has Photoshop, because it's just an art form. It's unclear if anyone involved in the production of Big B Presents was aware that Shippen used AI art in his process. Additional screenshots received by IO9 confirmed that Shipkin used AI art generators, but at the time when this art was being developed and turned in, generators were not of high enough quality to generate proper images, and Shipkin claimed to others via private message that overall it was painted digitally. So is this the painting over here on the right, and then the AI enhancement on the left? That could be it. Let's see. Shipkin is well known for using AI art generators like Pika Labs AI and operates an NFT marketplace out of Super Rare, putting it at odds with many in the D&D and TTRPG community who did not hold with either NFTs or AI-generated art. He has also provided early sketches on X as a way to show what he used to prompt the generators. A source at Wizards of the Coast has said that Shipkin's use of AI art was not something the team was aware of. So Wizards of the Coast said this was not something we were aware of. Further, they state that no text in the book was AI generated. Wizards says that they will update their guidelines to more explicitly prevent these sorts of incidents from happening in the future. So we're about to look at some guidelines. IO9 has reached out to Ilya Shipkin because also, you know, remember we looked at Pathfinder. Paizo took a very hardline stance very early on, saying that there would be no use of AI in their books. I mean, which is perfectly fine. If any particular company or any particular community, you know, whether, you know, generally the consensus around the community, we don't use this. We only use stuff that we like that is physical art that has been like photographed. That way we know that no kind of generate. And I think that will actually happen. That listen over here. This is the particular community. This is a particular publisher. When you look at this, that it was that no diffusion models were used, or any other type of model that might be coming out later. Who knows what we're going to have in a month, was used either in full or in part to generate any of this. People will still be interested in that. And that's fine if that's the way they want to go. Shipkin has further stated on social media today, in light of this confirmation, on social media today, in light of his confirmation and the deletion of his prior posts, that the future of today's illustrations are being discussed. So what happened? So he deleted stuff, deleted previous post as the future of today illustrations, as the future of today is being discussed. Then later he says illustrations are going to be reworked. Okay. So this right here, GeekWire says Wizards of the Coast updating artist guidelines after AI art found in Dungeons and Dragons book. Wizards of the Coast will update its artist guidelines to prohibit the use of illustrations that were made with generative AI tools. Again, so how are you going to figure that out if it's integrated into Photoshop? Today, we became aware that an artist used AI to create artwork for the upcoming book Big B Presents Glory of the Giants, a Wizards representative wrote via the official D&D Beyond Twitter account. And like I said, this is, let me see if I can zoom in here. This is, if it wants to be, if Wizards of the Coast policy that we do not do, that's fine. It's fine. Oh, I thought I was going to get a link to the actual okay, so this is was posted on D&D Beyond. Own AI generated art and Big B Presents Glory of the Giants. Today we became aware that an artist used AI to create artwork for the upcoming book Big B Presents Glory of the Giants. We have worked with this artist since 2014, and he's put in years of work into books that we all love. While we weren't aware of the artist's choice to use AI in the creation process for these commissioned pieces, we have discussed with him, and he will not use AI for Wizards' work moving forward. We were revising our process and updating our artist guidelines to make clear that artists must refrain from using AI art generation as part of their art creation process for developing D&D art. Well, actually, I mean, if that's like, if that's the position, and you're anti-AI art, I mean, I guess that's positive for you on Wizards of the Coast front, right? I mean, that would be what you want, right? I know there's great controversy in the chat about how we spell controversy. The word controversy is causing a lot of controversy. Let's see. I love it when the throne room in the New Hope was a bunch of cardboard cutouts to make the rebellion look larger. Oh, the people. Oh, talking about the people. We're talking about let's hire a bunch of extras. The people. I love it when things like that happen. At first I thought you were talking about set extension. Set extension using like cutouts and things like that is also really interesting when it happens. It's all with digital stuff now. It's almost a lost art, but. Ghostly Karma says, This isn't a true AI. It's just a tool that generates info that was given to it beforehand. A true AI would learn on its own with zero input from outside source. It's a tool. Yes, and like in the beginning, I said that we use the term AI because that seems to be the term out there in common parlance. But I try to use the word diffusion model and large language model when I actually mean a diffusion model or a large language model. I know if we put a disclosure for everything people wanted, it would be longer than the product. It would be. The last Phoenix says, this isn't AI generated images. It's in painting. Or, even something like, so that means that even something like the automated background fill in Photoshop, like I was like, oh, okay. I was waiting for something like that because there's several steps in the processes that I want to do. We got a bunch of projects right now. I've been working on the writing side of things, but as far as the showing something that I do need it to be easy, and there's a lot of things that are coming down the pipe with diffusion models, but they're still in the not very easy to use phase. And by that, I mean like installing things, loading things, actually figuring things out. They're not really commercial products yet because it's all in the open source realm, which is great. But in some ways, I actually am looking for somebody to come through and integrate all those into products. Like when we can in paint, like we can't in paint in mid journey right now. When we can in paint in mid journey, that's going to be a big thing. Still waiting on that, and they know. I mean, they've got to know that's a big thing. They should clarify that overpainting your art with AI post-processing is a no-no. Wizards is going to need some numbing cream. So Wizards' response was great. And so if that's the response, like I was looking at that the art, first of all, I mean, this seems weird as the controversy that's just blowing up because, okay, the one that to me that is the most controversial is if Wizards of the Coast took that person's concept art and then put it through an AI. But I haven't actually seen any other follow up on that. So I haven't seen any follow up on that. And this is what we're reading right here. And then didn't credit the artist. Now, I think they could potentially be fully legally and ethically allowed to do that if that artist was working for hire and they submitted the concept art and they were paid. After that, Wizards can do whatever it wants to with the concept art. So that's that side. But that it's not ethical to not credit that artist if that artist did not get credited for that as the concept artist for these images or whatever. That's what I would say. But then here, okay, the other artist was using that themselves to integrating it into their workflow, and then Wizards came down hard on that. So we're gonna see. This is a great discussion. I love this fantastic discussion. Robert said, we used to have this discussion. I asked GPT if I needed to be concerned about the fantasy world being constructed to see if it thought the NPCs were sentient, and it thought they weren't. If they were, it would be unethical to delete them. I mean, one day that's going to happen. One day that's going to happen, that we're going to be creating our role-playing worlds and our fantasy worlds, and the NPCs walking around the worlds are going to have feelings and emotions and trying to live their lives and like concerned about their families. And like, oh my God, what have we done here? That's going to happen. It's going to happen one day. So let me go over here. So this says, okay, so I was looking. So when was this tweeted? Is there a date on this? Oh, August 5. Oh, so that was yesterday. So that tweet came in yesterday. So maybe they haven't actually had time to update all of their, like the actual policy. But all right. So I mean so there we go. Let's go over here to Kickstarter. This was posted in the news for the grind, and I appreciate it. So this is introducing our AI art policy, or no, not AI art policy, just AI policy. So this is important. So let's go over here to Kickstarter. In the past year, there's been a lot of discussion about AI. It's particularly top of mind for creatives, some who are exploring the ways that AI can enhance their work, and others who are thinking through what the latest advancements mean for credit, consent, and their livelihoods. As a platform for creators, we have a responsibility to directly engage in this ongoing conversation and to establish for the first time a clear framework for how Kickstarter approaches projects that incorporate or build AI. In December, we shared our initial reflections on AI. Since then, we're talking to creators, including those on our Community Advisory Council, backers, and other platform leaders, and our own staff. This conversation helped us shape our AI policy, which will go into effect on Tuesday, August 29th. The policy. To be clear, our new policy does not ban the use of AI in Kickstarter projects. However, we want to be sure that any project that is funded through Kickstarter includes human creative input and properly credits and obtains permission for any artist's work that it references. Okay, this isn't like this is a reference. It's not. It's talking about artists here. It's not talking about writers. The policy. Oh, here we got text and images. This policy requires creators to be transparent and specific about how they use AI in their projects, because when they're all on the same page about what a project entails, it builds trust and sets the project up for success. Beginning in August 29, if AI is part of a creator's project, which that's going to be every creator's project. Well, I mean, I guess there's a lot of different styles of stuff, different types of things on Kickstarter, but in the world of games, gaming, tabletop, and things like that, I mean, how long will it be before? Because, like I said, with the integration of the AI, or whether it's a stable diffusion model or it's an LLM, I mean, like Word, right? I mean, your document processors are integrating LLM technology, and so I mean, pretty soon that's just going to be everyone. And if you have to put out, if it's something that happens in everything, well, then it becomes pro forma. Now we got, make sure you put out your disclosure here, because it's going to be everywhere. How long will it be before basically every project uses some form of what we're calling AI today? Probably pretty soon. Beginning in August 29th. What if you use AI to write your Kickstarter page? What if you use what if you give it to ChatGPT? What if you put out your bullet points and then use ChatGPT to help you write your Kickstarter page? They'll be prompted in the project. Okay, so beginning August 29th, if AI is part of the creator's project, they'll be prompted in the project's submission process to share details about how they leverage AI. Here's a summary of our upcoming policy. To be allowed on Kickstarter, projects utilizing AI tools for generating images, text, and other output must disclose relevant details on their project page. This includes information about how the creator plans to use AI content in their project, as well as which elements of their project will be wholly original work and whether elements will be created using AI outputs. Projects developing AI technology, tools, and software must disclose information about any databases and data the creator intends to use. The creator must also indicate how these sources handle consent and credit for any data they utilize. If the sources don't have processes or safeguards to manage consent, such as through an opt-in or opt-out mechanism, then Kickstarter is unlikely to allow the project. If any use of AI is not disclosed properly during the submission process, the project may be suspended. Attempts to skirt our guidelines or intentionally misrepresent a project will result in restrictions from submitting a Kickstarter project in the future. We'll begin enforcing our AI policy on Tuesday, August 29th for any project submitted on that date or after. We will not be retroactively enforcing the policy for projects that are submitted prior to this date. When the policy goes live, it will be available on our rules page and in our help center. How we're encouraging transparency around AI in the submission process and on the project page. In the support of the new policy, we will introduce a new set of questions in the project submission process. The creator will be asked to share if their project uses AI technology to generate outputs, if the project's primary focus is on the developing of generative AI technology, or if it involves any other use of AI. We'll also ask whether the creator has consent from owners of the works that are used to produce AI-generated portion of their work. Oh, so here is an example right here. Oh, it's not letting me read. Please select one response. My project seeks funding for AI technology. Wait, stop. I want to read that. What parts of your project will use AI-generated content? Be as specific as possible. Do you have the consent of owners of the works that were or will be used in, well, I wish it. Do I have consent of owners of the works that will be used to produce AI generated portions of your projects? Please explain. I've captured, well, okay. I can't read that. Once submitted, these projects will then be put through a human review process by our moderation team. If a project is accepted, once it goes live, any AI components of the project will be visible in a newly added use of AI section on the project page. Throughout our conversations with creators and our backers, what our community wanted most was transparency. We're happy to directly answer this call from our community by adding a section to the project page where backers can learn about a project's use of AI in the creator's own words. What's new? This policy is not just new, it's iterative. As AI technology continues to evolve and we continue our conversation with our community, we'll revisit this policy, how this policy is working, and how we can strengthen it over time. If you have questions about our new AI policy or need additional support to make sure your upcoming project is compliant, please reach out to us. So that influences a lot of us here, right? The Kickstarter policy. Let's see. See what people are saying here. Well, the problem here is these anti-AI policies they're absolutely unenforceable, unless, ironically, you use AI to try to suss out AI creative material. And it seems like it's bad at that. There are these AI content generators that probably, I think a lot of them are fraudulent. Let's see. Oh, use the snipping tool, it'll freeze the screen. Well, whatever. Oh, we're talking about the Kickstarter must be aware in the USA, the DOJ can fine $150K per violation for a report that violates the Americans with Disabilities Act. So this is close. Are you talking about disclosure? Like you're making somebody disclose because you're asking about text generation. So a disabled creator, let's say unable to speak, are they banned from using text to speech? Text to speech? I don't know if that was covered under this policy, but you're saying that if somebody's using something and it's because of a disability, that person shouldn't have to disclose that disability as part of the Disabilities Act. Let's go over here and take a look at. So I noticed early on, this is Roll20, AI generated artwork policy updates for Roll20. And I don't know what this is yet, so we're going to see what this. So this is a new policy from Roll20, also probably influential in a lot of people here who are making digital stuff for tabletop. So Roll20 says, "Hi all, I'm Dean Bigby, Director of Operations at Roll20. Many of you in the creator community likely know me from our previous work together back when I was the Director of Licensing. The past weeks have been chock full of conversations about AI-generated art, both at Roll20 and within the publishing community. Thank you to the many partners who have reached out to discuss their needs and concerns. Roll20 and drive-through marketplaces facilitate many thousands of artists, writers, and publishers in the tabletop RPG industry. Our primary goal as a marketplace is to make publishing accessible to as many people as possible. Each creator has unique needs, and they alone know what's best for them to achieve their goals. We do not step into these conversations lightly. As such, I'd like to take some time to give context around our thinking and decision-making, especially as our policies continue to evolve. Frankness and transparency are critical for maturing any conversations across the industry. Our approach. As a technology-based company, we intimately understand that stopping technology is impossible. AI-generated art is here to stay. The challenge with any new technology is finding ways to approach that empowers communities. We've seen positive outcomes with other tools previously. For example, map generators evolved from a controversial new tech to a popular tool that helps many artists spend less time aligning walls and more time making those walls look awesome. However, we also recognize the incredibly unique and disruptive potential of AI-generated art and take those conversations seriously. When debating new tools, we often ask ourselves some values-based questions across multiple cohorts. Here are a few anchors we rely on. 1, does the tool make creating and playing games more or less accessible to more people? 2, does the tool inject or undermine value to the creator and the customer experience? 3, does the tool empower or disempower creators and customers? AI-generated art performs well on points 1 and 2. So they're saying it performs well on 1 and 2, which is creating and playing games, make creating and playing games more accessible to more people, and also on injecting value to the creator and customer experience. However, point 2 reveals serious risk for visual artists. AI art generators have the potential to be immediately disruptive to an artist economy that has had little time to adapt or respond. Well, things do move fast. But here's my question again. Isn't the answer just more art? Like, if you're trying to buy something for a tabletop RPG, and it used to be that for some given artist amount of time, you were only able to produce 5 assets to enhance your tabletop RPG package. And now they can produce in that same amount of time 20 packages. Yes, if the artist says, well, no, I only still want to do 5 pieces of art. Okay, that may go away. You may have to do all 20 of them then in the same given amount of time or something like that. And what that would, so it does change. But yes, okay, so yes. But clearly, these things are happening fast. Point 3 also gives us pause. Part 3, does the tool empower creators and customers? This gives them pause. See, from my perspective, does this tool empower creators and customers? I was going to say, yes, it's highly empowering to them both. But point 3 gives us pause. Let's find out why. We are bothered by the unresolved issues around the sourcing techniques used by popular AI art generators. Additionally, there's no legal precedent to guide us and no wider industry standard to consider. That's the critique of 3. We are incredibly grateful to all the artists and partners that chose to work with us. Due to our concern about how they may be affected by this technology, we are amending our Roll20 and drive-through marketplace policies effective immediately. Okay, this new interim AI-generated art policy replaces all previous third-party and AI-generated policies. But I'm still thinking that number 3, they feel that this is disempowering to creators and or customers. But again, they bring up the sourcing. Well, but then again, okay, but they do say popular used by so they're a little bit more nuanced here and saying that we're concerned about sourcing by some of the popular ones. But like, okay, so use Firefly, or like we talked about, Google updated its policy saying that if you're continuing to use Google services, then you consent to what you're storing on Google servers to be used to train AI models. And I suppose in that case, they're talking about both diffusion models and large language models. So at the moment, again, it seems like, okay, this goes to a company. You need to be using Firefly from Adobe, or you need to be using whatever Google comes out with, because Google and Adobe have locked down that they have the rights to whatever the training material is. Google does that by just saying that it now has the rights to everything that you're putting on its servers, which is also these live streams. So I'm assuming then that means that Google's going to be using that. I have therefore consented to Google using these live streams to train its large language model, because Google already does like the automated transcripts of YouTube videos, right? And live streams as well. You can get the automated captions on there, which are not perfect, but have gotten better and better and better over the years. So if Google is looking for a bunch of tokens to train its LLM, I guess I have, by accepting using YouTube and everything right now, I guess I have consented to Google scanning the words that I'm saying, creating a text to speech, creating speech to text for the captions. And they go, hey, it's a benefit, right? You get free captions, and then we take that captions file and then we feed it to our large language model for training. I guess that's what's happening. So, yeah, I assume it is. I assume that's what's happening. I assume all of my YouTube material is being used by Google to train a large language model. So amended interim policy. Okay, this new interim AI generated art policy replaces, okay, we said that, Roll20 defines AI-generated art as images created through the use of artificial intelligence algorithms and techniques trained on pre-existing data sets. Roll20 Marketplace. At this time, the Roll20 Marketplace does not accept any product that utilizes AI-generated art. Oh, well, there we go. So they actually ended up taking a very hard line. After that little bit of nuance up there, they came down rather hard at this. At this time, Roll20 Marketplace does not accept any product that utilizes AI-generated art. So don't use Firefly, don't use generate background in Photoshop and things like that. Otherwise, you are out of here. Drive-through marketplaces, including community content programs and supported marketplaces. At this time, drive-through marketplaces do not accept standalone artwork products that utilize AI-generated art. At this, see, that seems to be a curation issue. Because yeah, like I would probably say that too. That like, do we really need to all of a sudden be flooded with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of standalone artwork products that have been AI generated when anybody can go and generate those themselves? There might be a very, very small window, and arguably that window is already passed, where somebody would come by and buy, spend a few dollars to buy them rather than generating them. Because then right before everybody really understands they can go and do that themselves. But otherwise, that's a curation thing. I said the curation thing I think is important. At this time, drive-through marketplaces require publishers. Now, that's standalone works of art. At this time, drive-through marketplaces require publishers to set their own AI-generated artwork policies on game rulebooks and adventure products. Any products that utilize AI-generated artwork must be tagged as such, which very soon will be every one of them, I would suspect, except for a very small number which are deliberately catering to a certain community. This policy places an indefinite pause on most submissions that contain AI-generated artwork. As for the allowances given, we will be working with publishers to build greater consensus on the best path forward. Simply put, there are so many publishers and creator programs with their own external policies and diverse print and PDF needs that this conversation requires greater collaboration efforts. This does not signal an end to the discussion, but the beginning. We have already that sounded like kind of a definitive end. In that case, it makes to me that makes Kickstarter sound progressive in this way. That's like, well, go for it, but we're going to do the transparency thing, which again, this is probably everybody's tagging everything, but soon. But this policy makes Kickstarter seem progressive. We have already begun to outreach to our drive-through marketplace partners to consider their own policies, and we continue to follow up. With that being said, we'd like to be very frank about what these decisions mean. Policing. Oh, this is what Sable Phoenix was bringing up. Enforcement. Policing artwork is one of the most difficult and time-consuming tasks in this sector. There is no mechanism for determining what is AI-generated versus what is human-made. It can be virtually impossible to determine what is an homage versus what is theft, even among human artists. We've already seen a marked increase in reports since we launched our interim AI policy, and these investigations increasingly consume the working hours of our support personnel who would normally be assisting creators. Further, many of the reports we receive do not meet the high bar of proof we require to feel confident in taking action. As such, we will be updating the reporting methods by which individuals can report plagiarized or misappropriated artwork. A reporter will be asked to provide a direct comparison of assets that show clear proof of infringement or a breach of our policy, and to offer as much contextual information as possible. Types of AI art generators. Our amended policy is intended to address AI art generators as they exist now. At the time of this writing, we'd like to leave space to encourage AI art generators to come to the market with clearly defined opt-in sourcing parameters. Well, they already have. We already have that. Such technology would be a great resource to these conversations. Well, okay, that already exists. So I guess they're kind of behind there. Legacy products containing AI-generated art. There are a small number of publishers on Roll20 and drive-through marketplaces who've already released content containing AI-generated artwork. There's only a small number? Okay. Since these publishers are in accordance with our policy at the time and have clearly labeled their products, we do not wish to disrupt their product line as a result of our changes. This group is so small that we don't believe it impacts the greater goal of the conversations. Encouraging human-generated art for small press. We will also begin working with artists to encourage the creation of a greater selection of affordable commercial use art assets. Small press is always struggling for market share against larger publishers with generous art budgets. We'd like to see small press publishers have more access to art that fits their catalog. Okay, so they want to generate more stock art themselves from artists. Next steps. In the coming weeks, we will reach out to a selection of publishers, community content creators, owners, digital tool set makers, and GMs. Our goal is to create a small working group where they can engage constructively on the topic of AI-generated artwork to advance the conversation within the tabletop RPG industry, and with all perspectives represented. As this conversation evolves, we will revisit these policies. To conclude, this is a complex and rapidly evolving conversation. We believe that policies limiting AI generation art will over time prove unsustainable. I mean, well, that's interesting. So we believe that policies limiting AI generated art will over time prove unsustainable. Arguably, they are unsustainable now. Because, it's true that some people who I know that are extremely anti-AI on this side publicly then will have privately told me that, yeah, they use it. I mean, that's a fact. So, if you're publicly against it, but then you're privately using it, I mean, you're still not gonna be able to submit according to these policies, right? However, we stand by the artists and creators who built this industry until we feel more confident that all parties are prepared, empowered, and have generally aligned around a precedent. We must adjust our stance to support our partners as equally as possible. So the amendment is, while we value innovation, starting on July 31st, 2023, Roll20 and drive-through marketplaces will not accept commercial content primarily written by AI language generators. We acknowledge enforcement challenges and trust in the goodwill of our partners to offer customers unique works based primarily on human creativity. As our AI-generated art policy, community content program policies are dictated. Oh, this is the language. This is just language generator policy. We acknowledge enforcement challenges and trust in the goodwill of our partners to offer customers unique works based primarily on human creativity. So they're just saying that will not accept commercial content written primarily by AI language generators. As with our AI-generated art policy, community content policies are dictated by the publisher who owns it. James says, I think Kickstarter's statement is very measured and considers detail the reactionary AI art crowd bulldozes. I like it. Is AI audio okay? Yeah, they didn't say anything about AI audio. Oh, I said Kickstarter. James says, I said Kickstarter. I clearly meant Roll20. So Robert says there are AI bots that can detect AI art. There are also scams. There are also scams that say they can do that. Frederick says human art is going to go down in price. So that's what's going on in the Geekverse here, especially on the tabletop gaming side. It would be interesting to talk about the writer's strike and also the actor strike and their use of AI technology. I tried to be very. I wanted to see what this kind of stuff could do. Like I wanted to know, like, oh wait a minute, is this true that like AI, a large language model, right now today, can it, as it's commercially available? I'll say that as it's commercially available and available to the general public, can it write you a movie script? No, it cannot. I mean, write something that is formatted and looks like a movie script and kind of, sounds like it, but it can't do it. It can't do it. But I really wanted to know. I took a deep dive in that. I was like, no, wait a minute. Is it true that I'm about to be completely cut off at the knees, and I just tell ChatGPT to please write this movie script about, the characters and so forth? And no, it cannot do that. Not worried about that now. And because of that, not worried about that. I mean, eventually, but that's its own conversation. We'll get in. Well, maybe one day we'll get this conversation going on. Maybe Cameron can come on. We need to talk about story with him, but he could talk about the state of the writer strike since he's on it, as part of the WGA. Robert says, to the contrary, no, this makes human original art more valuable, not for reproduction, but for collection. The Last Phoenix says, I think human art will go up in price since it will be a luxury. Mike says, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Please don't. This was a great conversation. I really enjoyed this, everybody. Very, very nuanced and important conversations and comments in the comment section. That's why I like doing this live, because it's interactive and I get feedback and thoughts to improve all of our thinking as we share our ideas and all of that. So that is great. Oh, thank you, James. I see the comment. That's fast. Thank you. All right. I am out of here. Everybody, please go be creative, be constructive, and grind on. Later.